Well, hello and welcome to a very special interview. We've pulled up in a marvellous piece of machinery today. I know we're going to be talking about F1, but let's face it, when you're in London, until they get a London Grand Prix, the only car you need is a London black taxi cab. And that's what we've got to show us around London all day. And I'm going to get out of this now and talk to this man, Alan, who's come along for the day. Notice the branding on the side, by the way. Yeah, shake hands. So I'm not going to leave you standing. Little competition that's running at the moment. If you see this car or the three others driving around London, hashtag spotted taxi. Tweet about it. You might actually win some F1 2013 merchandise. Anyway, I've done the plug. This man's doing the interview. Hello.
Hello, David. Thanks for your time today, and thanks for the tour of the cab as well. You know, in London, it's the only way to travel, surely. But first, I want to kick off about yourself, really, commentating. You're now on Sky One. How did you get into commentating in the first place? Was it a career choice for you? How did it all come about?
Do you ever sit at home and commentate whilst you're watching a live sporting event?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an easy word.
Seriously, I used to do that a lot when I was a younger kid, and I used to kick a football around the streets and commentate to myself as I was going along. And suddenly thought to myself one day, I'd quite like to do that as a profession, and had no idea how to go about it whatsoever. But 20 years ago, a man, very good friend of mine, phoned me up and said, "Look, you keep talking about wanting to be into journalism and commentary." He said, I need a reporter for Stevenage Borough to go along and do some games for us. Can't pay you, but I'll give you a byline. And that's how I started in sports journalism. And I kind of worked my way up through the ranks into BBC Local Radio and then into 5 Live for many years. And then in 2006, I got the F1 job after being at 5 Live for, 8 years by that stage. And then 2 years ago, started speaking to Sky. And when Sky got the rights to Formula One, I became their commentator. So it's happened very, very quickly. But there's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes, not just practicing as a little kid, but going to various sporting events, learning my craft, and then finding a sport that I really wanted to specialise in, because I'd always been a big F1 fan. And I have to say, I keep my fingers crossed every day that I carry on doing what I do now for a long time, because I love it.
I see you go from the super rich world of Formula One, if you like, to the world of darts. You know, I always see completely different audiences there. Darts, you still do some of the darts, don't you? You still do the World Championship. Yeah. What kind of preparation do you need for something like darts, for example? You know, is it getting to know the community, getting to know the players and everything else?
Well, don't forget, of course, Formula One and darts, very similar. It's all about aerodynamics. It's just that there's less names to remember in darts, of course. For every sport that you commentate on, as a commentator, you have to prepare, and you have to make notes, and you have to find things that are interesting, and in TV, supplement the pictures and tell the full story. What I did find working in darts and working at the Lakeside for so many years is that there are an abundance of stories and a bit of late night research with the darts players. You get to know most of those stories, some of which you can put out on air. And working alongside Tony Green was an absolute pleasure, because he knew the players and the stories of old. And you know, Sid Waddell, God bless his soul, a man that I spoke to quite a lot when I first got into darts commentary, and he helped me out a bit as well. We spent many an evening together just talking darts. He was an absolute wonder. John Gwynn helped me out a lot as well. John Part, who was one of my co-commentators, and you just you meet and make friends along the way. And it's the same in Formula One. You know, you walk around the paddock and you find stories and you find people to talk to, and you try and get a grasp on what's happening during the course of the weekend, so you can tell the full story to the people back home that want to know.
Well, obviously there's challenges to every form of commentary, like you're saying there with darts, all the research, the people you have to meet. Moving to Sky, obviously there's a lot of backing behind it from Sky. What's been the sort of the pressures? Has there been anything new to it that you've not encountered before? Obviously you're doing the Sky F1 show as well. In terms of prep for yourself as a commentator, has it been... it's been hard work adjusting? No,
in terms of the preparation, it's pretty much the same from my radio days. Obviously, you're acutely aware that the audience can now see the pictures, so you're not describing in so much detail whilst the commentary's going on. But we were doing practice sessions before, and we're doing practice sessions now. With Sky, the pressure comes from yourself, really. Sky have invested a huge amount in Formula One, and what you don't want to do as a commentator is kind of let the side down a bit, and you want to raise your game all the time, not because your bosses are telling you you've got to, but because it's something, it's a personal thing. You want to try and be the best and produce the best commentary or interviews or features for an audience that demand a lot and deserve the very, very best, because Sky have come in, not to just pick up the bat and rest on our laurels. We've come in to do even more and tell the whole story behind Formula 1, because we've got that much more time to do it. We've got an F1 channel now, and I think in our second year that the programming has improved dramatically from what we were doing last year. Not that I think we were doing a bad job at all, but some of the features we're doing now are just fabulous. I don't know if you caught the Ted Kravitz PA for the Day with Sebastian Vettel feature that we did in Singapore, but how often do we get the chance as Formula One fans to see Sebastian Vettel at leisure in between engagements and actually just speaking openly and honestly? And I think we got that with Ted's interview, and that's exactly the sort of thing that we like to do when we get the chance to do it.
Yeah, I think that was a great feature. I think Ted's notebook has been a really handy feature as well. Just really casually having him wander around the pit lane and getting to the core stories and doing what he loves, seeing that passion. I think you need that in Formula One. You need that sort of grassroots motor racing feel for it. You started off commentating with Martin Brundle. First time commentating with Martin Brundle. When there's two new commentators, everyone says, how are these two guys going to get on in the commentary box? How's it been working with Martin? Obviously, it's been a period of adjustment for both of you, from that nervy first race in Australia last year to where you are today, where it's nice and relaxed. How's it been settling in?
It's always been fairly relaxed between us, to be fair. We had one rehearsal before the season started last year, but I'd known Martin for a few years, because obviously we both worked in next door commentary boxes, and he was ready to return back to the role of the expert analysis man, as the man that's driven in 158 Grand Prix, and I'm not driven in a single Grand Prix, so I know where my knowledge is and I know where his knowledge is, and he was ready to go back to doing that again after being lead commentator. He calls me the Segway King, because he thinks that he can throw anything at me and then I'll just neatly link in to the next passage of action on the track. And I have to say, we've had some great moments, some real giggly moments in the box in China, where we were talking about Lewis Hamilton adjusting his straps as he got into the car in qualifying. And I just made a comment about it, and he saw my face and went, no, you might snigger, but it's a very important thing to do. And the minute he saw my face, and he knew I was going to keep on sniggering, and he was trying to be quite sensible about the thing. So I'm like, no, let's just carry on about the adjusting the straps. I like this conversation. And we both ended up just laughing for about 5 minutes, to be fair, because we're mates up in the box, and we take our job very seriously. But there has to be a conviviality and a warmth in the commentary to bring people into our world for a bit, and to share these moments with us. We just like to be on screen what we are off screen, and I think that's what we do. And Martin's been down to the darts with us for a social evening. He's been down to West Ham with us for a social evening, and we've had nights where our families and us have got together as well. And I have to say, it's just lovely to be with a guy that you can genuinely call your mate in a commentary box, working for a sport that we love. And then I get Anthony Davidson to come into the practice sessions as well, so I get the best of every world.
It's great. You guys have settled in together, and of course with Anthony as well. That pairing's been perfect since Radio 5 for you. And also, I suppose there are, as well as being relaxed together, there are the little words you sneak into commentary sometimes, and the little challenges that commentators have in their ears that not everybody always knows about.
We did what we did on the first Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And turned around, he said, I bet you can't get Fred Flintstone's catchphrase into a commentary. I went, mate, it's a piece of cake, give me a chance. He went, no, you can't do it. I said, all right, fine, we'll do it, not a worry. So we went on air for one of the practice sessions, and we were talking away, and I said, Schumacher or whoever it was, it could have been Webber, I'm not sure the driver. I said, round the hairpin in front of the grandstand by Ferrari World. I said, have you been down there yet? And Ant said, no, I haven't made the move down there yet. I said, you should go and check it out. Ferrari World, it's brilliant. It's a great facility, and they've got these concerts on this weekend. He said, have they? I said, yeah. I said, Beyonce's down there, and Aerosmith. I said, it's amazing. There are 40,000 people watching Aerosmith last night. I said, it's the biggest Abu Dhabi do they've had here for many a long year. At which point he now clicks that I've got Fred Flintstone's catchphrase into a commentary. He's not seen it coming. coming. And I think for the next 5 minutes I was commentating on my own whilst he picked himself back up off the floor and stopped laughing. Any challenge is always a challenge I'll win on that respect.
Yeah, it's nice to have that sort of thing in the commentary box because it does keep it jovial, and people often wonder what you're laughing about at home. I think this year at Silverstone it was the discussion over He-Man and the name of the cat. What was big. I just thought it was something random.
By the power of Grayskulls. Yeah, and it was completely random. Yeah. Honestly, we had not prepared that at all. But I even forget how we got onto the subject. But I'd forgotten what the cat's name was. And Anne couldn't quite remember as well. And this is the beauty of a lot of what we do, is the interactivity we get with the viewers. So I just said, like, hashtag Sky F1, please tell us the cat's name, otherwise I'm going to go bonkers. At which point hundreds of tweets are coming in telling us the name of the cat, and it's I kind of love that, because it means people are with us and are enjoying, and they want to join in with the banter as well. And a lot of the tweets that we get, drive the conversation through the practice sessions, and at least we're answering people's questions, not just those that watch Formula One all the time, but those that might be kind of new to the sport. We don't dumb down in any way, but we try and sort of match it on various levels. It's a bit like the F1 2013 game. You can play it at various different levels. Well, Formula One you can appreciate at different levels as well. So we try and cater for everyone, but as long as people feel that they're part of what we're doing, then that to me is really important.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I suppose moving on to F1 2013 now, you've been hosting some of the Principals Conference as well. Last time out, you was hosting the Principals Conference. Interesting conversations with Tony Fernandez. Been very open on Sky recently about the financial situation in Formula One. You hear it all behind the scenes. What kind of impressions do you get in the world of F1? Of sort of the world, and how? Because then Martin Brundle speaks to, say, Bernie Ecclestone recently, and Bernie's like, "There's no problem. Teams have got enough money. There's only 20 races next year, apparently.
22 now.
22, but there can't be 22 according to Bernie. But it's interesting. How do you find the world off camera in the world of Formula One? Is it very different to what we see?
No, it's not, to be honest. I think most of the time we get very honest answers when we ask the team principals and drivers the questions. How do I see the world of F1? I think that there is a danger of there being a two-tier championship in the future, because there are teams that are suffering financially. Tony Fernandez was talking from a standpoint of, well, we were invited into the sport and it was a cost-cutting sport, and ever since we've arrived the costs have gone up, and the new engines for next year obviously are not doing anything to diminish those costs. Although from my point of view, I think whatever Formula One is doing needs to be as relevant as possible to the outside world, and the new engines will do that. They're much more relevant to the road car projects, but it does cost money, and Red Bull have money, and they're a successful team, and fair play to them. They're not an established team in terms of they haven't been around for 30 years, but they've come in, they've picked up from Stewart Grand Prix and then Jaguar, and they've turned that Milton Keynes base into a world-class championship winning outfit, albeit with the backing of a major fizzy drinks manufacturer, as Lewis Hamilton would call them. But whilst they've had that success, other teams are suffering. And is there the right distribution of wealth within the sport? Possibly not, in terms of allowing every team to compete on the same level. But in sport, do you always get that? As Tony Fernandez talked about the Premier League being very good at looking after top and bottom, which it does very well, but still Manchester United have far more money than, say, Southampton or Hull. So you're always going to get teams operating on different tiers. What I'd like to see in F1 though is a way to work out so that you can get a shock result. Hull could beat a Manchester City in the Premier League, but a Marussia on a normal day is not going to beat a Red Bull or a McLaren. In terms of keeping the sport alive, I think you need the upsets from time to time. Now, Lotus are a team that can make those upsets, and that they've got a great base at Enstone, and they've got a great car and in Kimi Räikkönen a great driver, but they're suffering financially as well. They're looking next year maybe at bringing in a driver that brings money to the team. And they're one of the front-running teams at the moment. And if they're looking for paid drivers, or paying drivers, I should say, then what does that say about the state of the sport? Then you can expect the Saubers and the Williams of this world to be relying on money that drivers bring in. Not that there is anything new in that. Drivers have paid their way in Formula One for quite a while, but it's now starting to move up and up and up. And if you look at the grid, who is in a healthy financial state at the moment? Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren. That's probably about it, isn't it? And there's a lot of money in Formula One, so maybe there needs to be a way to cut costs further, or to implement a very stringent resource restriction agreement, and I'm not sure that could actually work, or just to redistribute the wealth a little bit, because the money is there to level it all up. But you're operating in a free market economy in Formula One, so why should you penalise some teams for the success both on and off the track? It's a really difficult topic to try and find the right answer, and I've got sympathies with both sides.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject that continues on. It's not a new one in Formula One. I mean, 10 years ago, Justin Wilson was working a day job while Michael Schumacher was earning £25 million a year. Seems to be always, it's been an issue in Formula One. It seems to be the answer from the Formula One management is have more races and then you make more money. So now we're looking at possibly 22 races on the calendar next year, possibly more in the future. You fly to all these Grand Prix. It's a long, draining weekend. It means more weekends away from home for all the engineers and everyone that needs to travel. What do you make of it and the pressure it puts even on your life with all this travel?
Well, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'm not going to complain about the amount of races at all. I choose to work in Formula One, and if it's 22 races, if it's 32 races, then so be it. That's my job, and I love doing it. Eric Boulier made the point that why have 2 or 3 more races? Let's have 10 more races, because that way there's enough money to bring on more staff. I worry that in the garages you're asking an awful lot of the guys that are putting the cars together and are running them during the course of the weekend, even with the curfews that have been put in place so they get at least one decent night's sleep over the weekend. I worry that you're putting a strain on them and that you can't bring in extra staff because the money's not there. But in all honesty, a natural level will be found. I worry a bit that the current power units for 2014 can't cope with 2 more extra races. That's going to be very interesting to see if that happens next year. Maybe the answer is to do 2-day race weekends. So we have more races but less practice sessions. There's a development drive in Formula One that is totally relentless, and people don't get a chance to switch off until the summer break, where all the laptops get switched off for 2 weeks, and that is the one big break of the season. But we shouldn't complain about it. If the demand is there, Formula One should be providing more entertainment. My biggest fear would be that entertainment gets diluted a bit and that fans switch off. The hardcore fans won't. The real passionate fans will watch everything. But the fans that tune in and out of Formula One and maybe take in half the races of the season, well, if you have 30, they're only going to take in a third of the races of the season. And, sometimes they say less is more. Is there more demand to watch races, to enjoy races, if there are less in the calendar? Certainly, it becomes more meaningful to take 25 points in a 10-race season than it does maybe in a 30-race season. And I worry that you just dilute the product a little bit. There was a time when we'd watch every single live televised football match, and now nobody can watch every single live televised football match. But the demand worldwide has sustained the Premier League, certainly, and the popularity is still there. For Formula One, you've just got to find what is the natural level. I'm not sure it's 30 races a season. It might be 22, it might be 25 in the end. But if you can marry a way so that the fans, casual and passionate, love every single race, if 25 points is meaningful every single race to go out and win that, and if people aren't being overworked so that after 10 years they have to say, no, I can't do any more of this, then you've got a successful sport for the future. But there's a lot of chats need to be had.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think obviously there's the financial elements to it, but there's also the pressure on the mechanics, and there is long hours, and there's people are made and sort of broken in terms of career. But I know we're rushed for time now, so a final question. Ask Crofty. It's been good fun this year. It's your opportunity to communicate with the fans. If there was one time on Ask Crofty that just made you laugh out loud, what would it have been?
Oh heavens! I get some very strange questions indeed. What was it? Could a giraffe drive a Formula One car? That was one of them. How would a giraffe get on in Formula One? He'd probably win by a neck.
Not far from me.
No, yeah. Seriously, it's rare I look up to a man as much as I'm looking up to you now. We get some weird and wonderful questions in Ask Crofty. They all come in. They're filtered by the guys back at base at Sky in Osterley, and then I get like the best ones that come through to me, because otherwise I'd be chasing my tail all the time and I couldn't keep up with them. But yeah, could a giraffe drive a Formula One car? That would be good. Or what animal would be great in a Formula One car?
Well, I think that's probably like my experience in a Mazda MX-5. Certainly not that comfortable. You need a hair. You get a haircut.
MX-5?
Not really, not very well. It's a bit like Hightower on Police Academy. It's not. Take the seat out, and I'll be below the windscreen. Otherwise, it's a bit windy. But listen, David, thank you very much for your time.
Give me the microphone. We've got lots of leg room in the cab, just for you. We'll take you anywhere you want to go, as long as it's within a 10-mile radius. That's Mike, everybody. Alan, even. In the cab. This is my cab. Who's going to catch the mic? You're going to catch the mic. I'll see you later.
No pressure.